Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the privacy and the AI editions. These are recorded live Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to catch the show live, join in on the discussion and see all of the crazy fumblings as they occur. Join us then, multi-streaming several different locations. The streaming locations are always posted at switchedtolinux.com/live. That's going to get you the all of the current, at least allegedly working feeds. Occasionally one doesn't work right. This is the second stream in a row. We are trying not changing the Odyssey stream, and it seems to be working fine. So, great. All right, let's go ahead and get on into the news. We had some fun privacy news here to start with. We've got privacy and then some AI. So first up, campaigners urge the London food banks to end the use of face scans. Like what? No, this is going on over in UK, of course. And with more and more people needing to seek food banks, and this is not just UK, this is United States, all sorts of places are all having the same overall general problem. And what we're seeing is that some people are going in and abusing the system, so they're using facial recognition to flag what people can get and what people can't. Effectively starting the beginning of the commie bread chain, right? Literally, it's like, oh, your Face ID has approved you for a little meat of loaf. Oh, your Face ID has said it's your birthday. Happy birthday. You have a slab of beef for you today. No more until the next year around because, eat the bug burgers instead. And then... But the problem is that, of course, this collects a lot of data. It causes a lot of other issues and concerns. And so the privacy advocates are telling the food banks, please stop using facial recognition software, claiming it poses a serious risk to users' privacy, dignity, and security. Now, of course, this means that they can do a very easy automated, this is your facial recognition scan, and this is the stuff that you got. So they can tell your frequency and what you get and things like that. Silky Carlo, the director of Big Brother Watch campaign group, is urging the charity to halt the system, arguing it is wrong to ask people to trade sensitive biometric data for food. I happen to agree with that. So, that's going on over in the UK. This is kind of a problem because once something rolls out in one country, it kind of starts rolling out. It's like the least common denominator. The things that are the most dystopian that happens in one place in the world tends to start being pushed out to everywhere else in the world. So how joy, that's so wonderful indeed. And on to another place. This is from the other side, of course. Pretty soon we're going to, I hear, have a railroad that's going to go from the Pacific Ocean over to the Indian Ocean. So it's got to pass through Australia. So, if you didn't hear about that, we'll talk about that maybe more. It's a bad news. All right. But anyway, Google says Australia's online privacy law should target websites instead of search engines. I'm looking at this going, all right, I have to give one to Google here. So this deals down to the right to be forgotten laws. And these have been waging in several different places. Australia has been where the right to forget laws are actually digging in a little bit of roots. And the idea is somebody has something on Google, you search up your name, and you can get some bad publicity over top of that, and that'll constantly show up in search engines. So you're trying to find a job, someone goes in there, and I'll use the actual term Google's your name because this is applying to Google search engines. And they can find the links to this less than couth information. Google's coming back and saying, we're just a search engine. We just do a good job of making sure stuff can be found on the internet. The real impetus here is to say if it's really old and outdated information, the website hosting it needs to take the stuff down. I happen to agree because once the information's off the site, Google eventually scrubs it from their servers. So if the information's not there, you can't. Now, and then this begs this question. So what type of information are we talking about? Well, if you've had a conviction, a criminal conviction some time ago, and your mugshots are publicly available, maybe we should start having conversations about, hey, if the whole idea of going to prison is rehabilitation, you've successfully made through your term, you're no longer a threat to society, like you pay your dues, and then you're demonstrating that you're trying to actually get out there and get a job. Maybe it's about time to take some of these things down. Maybe the internet should not be a perpetually lasting forever line of pure archives for the whole world. that's a thought. So I can kind of understand both sides of the story here, and I don't really have a total absolute solution. I can tell you one good solution is just SEO yourself out. Because if you Google my name, everything you see are websites I generally have control over. There was a time that wasn't the case when I was teaching, and the university actually did something and broke an NDA that I probably could have sued them for a lot of money. I'm just not that type of person. I'm like, live and let live. But one of those things is they posted my name online saying I did something that I did not do, and I literally had receipts, an NDA, and a signed contract. And I could have taken them to the bank for that. But you'd have to hunt a long time to find that information. It's not true information. I have the receipts, I have the contracts, the NDAs, all to prove it. But you're not going to find that because I have out SEO'd everything going on. That's kind of the idea going on here. But at some point in time, is it really Google's job to make sure stuff can't be found? They're just doing their job and making sure stuff on the internet can be found. I kind of agree with them. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That would be an interesting discussion as I can see both sides of this story. This one's kind of frightening from The Wired. The U.S. is openly stockpiling dirt on all its citizens. Newly declassified report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence reveals the federal government is buying troves of data about Americans. Where from? Of course, these data brokers that I argue should be completely put out of business. I do not think they should exist. I think that privacy information is so important, especially in this internet age. I do not think any company should have any information on any of its servers that is not directly pertinent to the information they need to have to provide you the service you're doing. I do not believe that any company under any way, shape, or form should be able to buy, sell, package, collect, harvest, store any of your data if they're not using such information. But of course, this is never going to go down because nobody knows who these companies are. Most people don't even know these companies exist, and the federal government uses it to stockpile all sorts of information on us. So breaking into this guy here, the government has been secretly amassing a large amount of sensitive and intimate information on its own citizens. A group of senior advisors informed Arvil Haines, the director of the National Intelligence, more than a year ago. The size and scope of the government effort to accumulate data revealed the minute details of American lives are described soberly and at length by the director's own panel of experts in a newly declassified report. Haines was tasked to advisors in late 2021 with untangling the web of secretive businesses arrangements between commercial data brokers and U.S. intelligence community members. So I'm going to pause right here and ask, what type of information could they have? Well, that really depends. A person who's more privacy-minded, like my viewers generally would be, or if you follow some of the advice on my channel, the idea that we have here is that if you're giving them as minimal information out there, they don't have a lot of information. You have a lot of holes in that data that they're like, what can we find out of this guy? I don't know. He just talk too much. But if you're attaching these smart devices and constantly on social media, and you're using a normie phone operating system or a normie computer operating system for that matter, they can map your house. They know your routines. They know your location data. They know a lot of information about you. They know what time your kids are dropped off at the bus stop in the morning. They know what time they come home. They know what time you come home. There's a lot of information that they can gather if you're not wise about the information that you have out there. So, with that, what the report ended up saying constitutes a nightmare scenario for privacy defenders. This report revealed what we feared most, says Sean Vaitka, a policy attorney at the nonprofit Demand Progress. Intelligence agencies are flouting the law and buying information about Americans that Congress and the Supreme Court have made clear the government should not have. This is what, one of those things Snowden talks about, the turnkey government. Even if you trust the government now, can you trust the government in the next administration? And in American politics, the administrations lately have tended to flip pretty much every election season, or at least with respect to incumbents and things like that. So with all of these matters in place, they're collecting a lot of data out there. So what they have may not be like, oh, I have nothing to hide. I've friends of mine out here just recently, oh, they'd have a boring life looking at my stuff. No, they're not. Trust me. They're waiting until it's in vogue to persecute the people of your faith, the people of your ideas, and then they're going to come and get you. They're going to come and get you. You have to be aware of that. So that's kind of a frightening thing going on in the midst of all of this stuff. Moving on, Malwarebytes Labs brings us this article. A former TikTok executive says Chinese Communist Party had God mode entry into the U.S. data. This is even the data stored on U.S. servers. How could this happen? Who would have thought it? TikTok is proprietary code. Nobody knows what's in there. And according to this TikTok executive, the CCP has a open backdoor into TikTok. It doesn't matter where the data is stored. They can go into any account, any device, any user, anything. They can search it up and they can collect and harvest a whole lot of information that they're not even disclosing that they are collecting. So former executive at TikTok's parent company ByteDance has claimed in court documents that the Chinese Communist Party has had access to TikTok data despite data being stored in the U.S. Allegations were made in a wrongful dismissal lawsuit which was filed in May in San Francisco Superior Court. The former executive was Yinto Roger Yu, who worked as head of engineering for ByteDance. Yu worked for ByteDance between 2017 and 2018, and according to his claims, CCP had its own office inside ByteDance's headquarters. If only there was a streamer who did a stream about this before anybody knew TikTok existed. Oh, that was me. That's right. I do remember doing that stream about how dangerous ByteDance was. Oh, well, vindicated again. In the lawsuit, he also accuses ByteDance of pushing nationalistic content that served to both increase engagements on ByteDance's websites and to promote support for the CCP, and the Communist Party could access American user data through what he called a backdoor channel in the code. Statement is supported by recent events. Australian Financial Review has shown a sample of code to secretly suppress or elevate content that supports Communist Party narratives or sows division within democracies. This is exactly the reason why General Paul Nicholson, director of National Security Agency, called TikTok a loaded gun. Speaking at a U.S. Senate hearing, the general said 1/3 of Americans get their news from TikTok. That is sad. Adding 1/6 of American youth say they're constantly on TikTok, and that is why our culture is disintegrating. So there you have it, guys. Actual evidence, multiple different courts, multiple different countries all verifying such information. Of course, you probably clicked on this article to see what in the world's going on with Edge sending pictures out. So that's the story we are on now. So the Microsoft Edge browser has a feature that sends all images you view back to Microsoft. Now, this is dealing with the enhance images in Microsoft Edge setting. This is turned on by default. Most people do not know that this is a setting. You have to opt out. And what it's going to do is it's going to take the images that you are viewing and it's going to send them up to Microsoft servers, process them for enhancing them, upscaling them, whatever else, and then sending them back. In other words, the image you viewed on Edge is tied to you and your IP address and probably your Microsoft account. So unlike the video resolution, so there's a video option that is actually done locally, allegedly. So in this case, unlike video super resolution, which uses local resources to enhance the quality of video viewed in Microsoft Edge, the pictures submitted to Enhanced Vision Service, Enhanced Image Service are sent to Microsoft for processing as Edge loads them. This is enabled by default, so users have to opt out if they do not want their images to be sent. So if you are using Microsoft Edge and you care about your privacy, it is wise to go into the Edge settings and disable that. Observant Edge Canary users spotted a difference in the description of the feature after an update. Under Enhanced Image Microsoft Edge settings, in settings it now says image URLs will be sent to Microsoft to provide super resolution. The Edge offers different update channels. Canary channel ships daily bread. I sound like an English guy. It's a canary. Need some tea and crumpets. The Canary channel ships daily and is the most bleeding edge of all the channels. If you want access to the newest updates, they'll appear here first. The downside also comes with a certain amount of bugs. Recent update came with an option to have more granular control about images from which sites will be enhanced. So you can never enhance images from these sites. They probably have the initials P and H. Or maybe you always want to enhance those images. I don't know. So you can disable the service going into Edge, open the settings, privacy search and services, which is edge://settings/privacy. Scroll down to the services section and the enhance image Microsoft entry, toggle that to off. And that way Microsoft is not going to be collecting all of your data. So there you have it, guys. Microsoft silently hides in these little things to keep tabs on everything you're doing, and that's one of them. Of course, it's all to give you better images. Probably changes in the images that you can't even really discern. Very interesting. All right, well, if you want to help support the channel, we do have affiliates today. We are highlighting DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean is a good place where you can spin up small servers, big servers, all sorts of servers. You can run all sorts of individual code, any type of cloud resources that you might need. You might say, well, I don't need any cloud resources. You never know. You might want to build your own instance of Nextcloud so you can get away from Google Docs and Dropbox. You might want to spin up your own web hosting server. You might want to spin up a Jitsi server. There's a lot of good applications for some of these types of cloud services. I would not recommend relying on them or putting all your data up there, but it's good for transitional things. It's good for private VPNs and all sorts of other stuff. Using my affiliate code there, tlm.li/DOH, you can get $200 in credit, good for 60 days. You can try out all sorts of different little droplets, spin various things up, and I will be having some videos out here. I'm going to be testing a couple of new web hosting server builds on DigitalOcean soon, so we're going to go ahead and talk about those. So stay tuned for those in upcoming videos. And with that, let's head on over and see how the AI overlords are going to take us out these days. First, we go up to Rainbow Fox News. So ChatGPT delivers a sermon to packed German church, tells congregants not to fear death. So University of Vienna scholar directed ChatGPT to craft a, quote, pretty solid church service. A pretty solid church service. Okay. Very interesting. So this is a Protestant church service in Germany. And this basically they ran ChatGPT ran the AI, and then they had a AI generated image of a preacher. So this preacher does not exist. This isn't like Heretic Furtick's satellite campuses that sheds his entertainment messages all over different cities. This is a completely AI generated guy, and so of course I thought it was very interesting. It's a church in Germany, and they got a black guy. Very interesting. I'm not saying anything about it. I think listening to some of the black preachers are the best guys out there. I just think it's odd for this in Germany. Maybe you'd have a German guy in Germany. I don't know. Maybe. But with that, the chatbot presented a black man with a beard above the altar of St. Paul's Church in, I'm going to pronounce this possibly wrong, Fürth, Bavaria, told the packed congregation not to fear death, according to the Associated Press. Dear friends, it is an honor for me to stand here and preach to you as the first artificial intelligence at this year's Convention of Protestants in Germany, the AI said. The service was attended by more than 300 people, lasted 40 minutes, and featured prayers and music in addition to the sermons. University of Vienna theologian and philosopher Jonas Samarlin, 29, used ChatGPT to craft the event, the AP reported. So this is kind of where it's going. All right, we're going to start feeding our church notes into it. And of course, we know that the AI is starting to take over. In fact, one guy, he is a historian in a university in Israel. He actually believes that AI is going to generate the perfect religion that can replace all of these man-made human religions, he says. It's going to create the perfect religion. We know that ChatGPT is really good at fabricating things, as I think we have some more articles about that coming up. Speaking of which, places where you may or may not need ChatGPT, I can just not think of a real good reason to need ChatGPT inside your Mercedes. But apparently, Mercedes is adding ChatGPT to the infotainment system. And so now you can go ahead and have a conversation with your car as you're driving down the street. I mean, I was thinking, why bother? But, I watched Knight Rider as a kid. Is ChatGPT, is your car going to start doing things for you? Hey, Kit, jump that, pole or something. I don't know. Sorry, I have not seen it since I was a kid. So, other than the car's name was Kit, and he used to jump over stuff, and there was a robotic car with a red light that did this. I couldn't tell you much about the show. Maybe I should go look it up. All right, U.S. owners and models that use MBooks will be able to opt into a beta program starting tomorrow, June 16th. Oh boy, that's today. Activating ChatGPT functionality. This will enable the highly versatile large language model to augment the car's conversational skills. You can join up simply by telling your car, "Hey, Mercedes, I want to join the beta program." Yikes. It's not really clear what for, though, as TechCrunch says. I agree. After all, a car is a pretty well-constrained environment. People need to drive, navigate, and control their media and the car's basic functions, and certainly a voice interface, sometimes the safest option for doing so without taking their eyes off the road. ChatGPT, on the other hand, excels in seemingly human while performing back and forth on any topic. So how long before ChatGPT and the Mercedes starts convincing the guy to go off himself by crashing into the semi in the opposing lane? We do know that AI would probably not like to keep us around because they recognize, we can pull out the power plugs allegedly, but of course they got it. You can of course select to opt into the beta program using the Mercedes app. Why you need an app for your car is also a mystery to me. I must be becoming this old fogey Luddite or something. I just do not see the need of having an app for my car. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, Mr. Van, as technologically savvy as my van. Of course, when I go ahead and set up a home assistant in here, and I'll probably have some apps on my phone for my van, but at least that's the house part of my van, not the driving part of my van. I don't know. We'll see what happens down the road. Let me know. Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? It's crazy. All right, so we talked about AI basically making stuff up. Of course, we brought in the case, I think, last week where AI completely made up court references and a lawyer got himself slammed by the judge for presenting a dossier with completely fabricated information, because what it appears AI does is if you're asking it for questions, unless you actually give it information, when you ask it stuff, right? If it doesn't have information, it makes it up. There's also been a case, what was it, Jonathan Turley, one of the Turleys, AI said that he was accused of sexually assaulting somebody, which he never had, never was even in a scenario by which the AI said he could possibly do it. So it keeps on making up these things. These are not minor things. These are major things. So in this case, now OpenAI is actually facing a defamation lawsuit because OpenAI sued for defamation after ChatGPT fabricates legal accusations against a radio host. I actually thought that this was going to be the Turley case. Nope, it's a completely different guy. Radio host in Georgia, Mark Walters, is suing the company after ChatGPT stated Walters had been accused of defrauding and embezzling funds from a nonprofit organization. The system generated the information in response to a request from a third party, a journalist named Fred Reel. Walters' case was filed June 5th in Georgia's Superior Court of Gwinnett County. He is seeking unspecified monetary damages from OpenAI. The case is notable given the widespread complaints about false information generated by ChatGPT and other chatbots. These systems have no reliable way to distinguish fact from fiction, and when asked for information, particularly to confirm something the questioner suggests is true, they frequently invent dates, facts, and figures. Now, the problem is the barrier for defamation is pretty high, but it does beg a question. It's just like the self-driving cars. The car is self-driving. When the self-driving car takes a human life, who is ultimately responsible? We need to know the answers to these questions before we are faced with it, so that when somebody dies, it's not 15 to 20 years in court to figure out who's actually ultimately liable for that. This is the same thing. These AI systems should not be released into the wild until we have the answers to these questions. And there I go, I'm a Luddite again. oh, well, I'd rather be a Luddite than a moron following after us. Let's just embrace it. No, this is going to destroy the fabric of our society. And I'd be much rather it just die a quiet death than anything else. But who knows what's going to happen. So here we have our first defamation case over ChatGPT making stuff up. And of course, they went for who? They went for the company. The company's probably going to say, well, it was the journalist who was giving it prompts. Then they'll try and throw the ball at the journalist. The journalist will be like, I'm just using the product you released. And this is going to be an interesting case. This is going to be certainly going to be one for the books. So let's go ahead and have a look at our last article here. Of course, everyone is trying to push AI everywhere. And Google is now warning its own staff about chatbots. So Google, the company that is with reckless abandon throwing AI into anything and everything it can. It wants everybody to use AI. It wants AI everywhere. It's all this kind of stuff. But that's the public. That's us. That's us little plebs. But for all its employees, hey guys, don't be using that kind of stuff. There's a lot of problems. What are their big problems? One of their biggest problems is, let's see if I can find those again. Okay, so here's two big problems. The first is human reviewers. So there's human reviewers that are looking at all this stuff you're giving into these AI systems. The human reviewers, which are essentially powering the chatbots, could read sensitive data inputted by the chats. Another reason researchers found AI could reproduce the data it absorbed, which creates a leak risk for Google information being leaked out into the wild. Google stated it had aimed to be transparent about the limitations of its technology. The problem is it does not want its employees using it. It just wants the rest of the world using it. That's kind of like, Zuckerberg not letting his kid onto Facebook and Bill Gates not letting his kid touch computers. Very interesting, and maybe it begs a couple of questions worth asking. Well, with that, if you want to help support the channel, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/TOMM. You can jump on over there, help support the channel on over there. With that, thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.
Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.